as you watch chronic disease go up with blood pressure, your chances of having a cardiovascular risk goes up exponentially each time you make a 10-point jump. And so they're even lowering it. But we don't want prescriptions to be subscriptions. And unfortunately, when we're working with doctors who
I like that. Prescriptions becoming subscriptions.
Subscriptions, yeah. When we're
As a t-shirt.
Shit's about to go down. I'm feeling something in my spirit.
Chats and Tatts with Della, Vedova.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to Chats and Tatts with me, your host, Della, Vedova. Today I have a really cool guest, a friend of mine for 12 years or so. I met her from tattooing her, but over the long period of time of tattooing her, and she's been back to Guru Tattoo and gotten tattooed I don't even know how many times, it really was exposed to me that this person is a person of depth, of passion, of intelligence, just a very interesting woman with a lot to talk about, especially in the way of nutrition. She's a mother, she's a wife, she's a plant nutritionist, she's a health advisor. She is a person who could take somebody with an autoimmune disease and change their diet, and weeks later, things are better. So we're going to talk about all these things. She's a lover of tattoos. And you'll know what I mean by this later. She's a silver fox. So without further ado, I would like you all to welcome Kaska of Chajak Kovner.
Good work.
Did I get the middle right? Chajak. I just could have said it a little more smoothness.
No, yeah. Well, we just went over it, a couple minutes ago. Yeah. You look at it and it's OWCZARZAK. So, yeah.
Good luck with
awesome.
that.
Good job. Thank you. It's awesome to be here, especially, congrats with the new studio.
Thank you.
Just, like you said, we've known each other for 12 years now. And just watching you go from being in your front studio at the PB location and then take on this location and remodel this location and just all of the amazing artists you've had, come through and what you've created is just awesome getting to watch you grow through this time. Yeah.
Thank you.
So good work.
It's a work of passion and love. I didn't even really want this thing to grow, but I've learned being a business owner, businesses are like trees. They only do two things. They're either growing or dying.
Or fall on your house almost.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Separate story. A tree almost crushed my house yesterday. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But, my mom sometimes, she's like, why can't you slow down? Why can't you stop? And my answer to her is, Mom, you got to grow. I'm a small business owner. You can't sit still. If you're sitting still, you're decaying.
Or as a person.
Yeah.
And that's how I got to where I am now, in multiple ways beyond nutrition. But we're growing and changing can be hard or expensive, or both, but when we're growing and learning and changing and doing uncomfortable things, we get to expand with life, or we just, wither on the vine.
Agree with you. I will say there are people, and the argument against that would be like someone like my brother, he likes his house. He likes his routine.
Yeah.
He seems completely happy and content. And we've had this discussion, me and him, because I've kind of hit him with, John, you're going to die. Are you ever going to travel? He's like, I really don't like to travel.
I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm content. Why are you always pushing on me like that? And then I sort of backed into a place where I'm like, well, I'm putting my stuff on him.
Yeah.
That's his deal. But I run like you. Like if I'm not changing, growing, challenging, getting uncomfortable, I feel like I'm dying. I'm regressing or something. That's just my nature.
Yeah. And we need both.
Yeah.
And we need other forms too. There's all sorts of different people. There's the type A's and the type B's and the happy. And that's what makes life interesting.
True.
So we're the ones who are always like, how can we rock this boat? How can we change?
Can you imagine if everybody was like us?
It's really annoying. Oh, God, it's just annoying being, It's just like, why? Can we just sit down and be like your brother for a while?
Oh,
my brother.
Your brother's the same way?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's funny.
He's just content.
Yeah.
And it's so easy. So nice.
It does make me question myself sometimes because as much as I push on him, I walk away and I'm like, well, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
How come I can't just sit around my house for a week and watch football and tend to my garden?
Or a day.
Or even one day, right? A week. That's way beyond. Well, cool. Well, we share that in common. I guess our
Yeah.
nature of pushing the boundaries and what is this world? What is going on? I'm always asking myself, what is the universe made out of? What am I made out of? Where is God? Who is God? What am I eating? Why am I eating it? This is just me constantly. Oh, book. I'll read this book. You got to read that book. Blah, blah. And I think you have been this way in
Yes.
different paths. Your passions have been a lot of passions, but one of the ones I think it's really interesting to me, especially considering all the talk online today about nutrition. Not that there hasn't always been, but I feel like the arguments and discussions have really ramped up, and it's really this, the vegan community who's like, you got to eat the plants, you got to eat the plants. And now these meat eaters have been fighting back like crazy. So now they're coming out like, you got guys living on pure raw beef liver and telling you, they seem to be the epitome of health. But I mean, who knows what's going to happen? These people, in 10 years, 12 years, 20 years is probably more of a testament. But I guess what I'm saying is a lot of the shows I listen to Joe Rogan. You guys know he's a friend of mine. He has all these guests on, very meat forward, promoting paleo diets, heavy meat forward diets. And personally, without doing a ton of research on my own, I'm sort of like, yeah, that makes sense to me. And I too eat a fair amount of meat. I eat mainly paleo, a lot of vegetables, but I'm not afraid to eat a 10, 12-ounce steak and the next night have chicken and the next night have dinner, still eating my vegetables, keeping out a lot of the carbs, keeping out a lot of the grains. I did do the full 30 a few years back, and my weight's never come back on. I seem to maintain 200 pounds no matter what I eat anymore. My blood work reflects a man of good health at 51 with good cholesterol levels, and all those things seem to be tuned up. So anecdotally, I've always said to people, I've got it figured out.
Yeah.
You should eat the way I eat. I can prove it to you. Look at my blood. Look at my general health. I'm a healthy guy, and this is how I eat. And I was sort of running some of that past you recently, and you kind of hit me with some new stuff that I was like, what? I never heard that argument before. And before Kaska speaks to you guys, it should be noted that she was a vegan and still is, but she's not, you're not promoting the vegan agenda. She's okay with us eating meat. Her arguments, you'll see in a minute, are more about what and how much and things like that. So
Yeah.
I'll let you take it from there because I really want to learn your take on this. I'm very open-minded.
Yeah. There's just so much to go into there. And I think first off, going into the confusion of general public of like, what are we supposed to eat? And, with the, carnivore diet being back on, which is just like the Atkins diet reinvented, for, modern, where we are today. You see a lot of push for meat and you see a lot of push for dairy because you have a lot of changes happening right now. One of which is that, our environment is having a hard time. And one of the biggest things that it's been shown that we can do for our environment is look at the way that we eat. How is what we're eating affecting the environment? Because that's what are we growing? How is that affecting our agricultural land? Because a lot of our land use is for our diets. And with that being in awareness right now, meat is being seen as, something that's causing a lot of environmental issues because we're eating too much of it. We're seeing it in health as well, but I think you're seeing a lot of a pushback because these studies are coming out about the environment, because we're seeing that meat is hard. You also have the meat industry having a lot of, pushback, being like, no, meat's great, meat's awesome, drink milk. Like we spoke the other day about soy, and we spoke about the Amazon.
Yeah, this was a good one.
Yeah.
I thought I had her cornered. I really hit her with, Kaska, what do you have to say about these thousands and thousands of acres of soy that are being grown for all these vegetarians?
Yeah, the GMO monocrops,
And tell them what you told me. You got me on this one.
77% of these soy crops on, it could be 78, it could be 76,
Right.
but about 3/4 of these soy crops are being used for meat and dairy.
To feed the animals, to get the meat.
To get the meat and to get the dairy. It's being used as animal feed. And then, about 10 to 12% after that is being used for highly processed oils, other industrial uses. And after that, 4 to 7% is being used for organic and non-organic. So all, that full spectrum of tofu, soy milk, tempeh.
So very small amount.
Very, very, very small amount.
Because that's been a big one on these meat proponents. They like to be like, they basically have heard him say, like, all these giant fields of
Yeah.
soy and all these
Or
things.
wheat and corn, just miles of wheat and corn are right here in our country, our huge bread basket, the middle America, where we have a lot of farming. The majority of that is used for animal feed. So that's where the environmental footprint comes from is, it's about an 800% food waste because it takes about 8, depending if it's chicken or a cow, calories to get 1 calorie of, an animal product out of it, whether it be egg, dairy, or meat. And then, we go into the idea of having all of these animals, We spoke about like how you could use, our non-flat, land that we have here that you can't farm on to have animals on, but we have 60 billion animals that we're killing every year. So where are we supposed to put all of those animals?
Well, you're going, and I agree with this. And I referenced Joe before, and I forget. I mean, he was interviewing the people that wrote this, but let me just grab it. These guys came off really smart, and I still think they are. It was Diana Rogers and Rob Wolf.
Regenerative farming.
Yeah, and I remember Joe, and that's where they got stuck a little was, they were painting the model of if you take 20 acres and you let the cows walk there, and then the bugs that come off the chickens are eating the bugs, and they create this perfect little system. But then when you try to scale it, is where the issues kind of came up. It's like, yeah, you probably could make this perfect little farm. You could feed a few hundred people with it, and it's symbiotic with planet Earth. It's hurting nothing. It's beautiful. But then you get into these numbers, and it's like, how are you going to do that?
You can't maintain that. That's not even including fish.
Right.
But for the land, and then also it gets into, it was around World War II when they stopped allowing for the droppings of animals to be used as a main source of fertilizer for that regenerative farm option, because that's when they're like, well, they really separated the farming practices. Like either you grow, wheat, or you have cows, or you do this, and then you're allowed to use these fertilizers, and that's where your synthetic nitrogen fertilizers came on board. And so you have to go through then, so much of the politics of food to be able to even get that to start. Yeah, unfortunately. Right. But the main point is that it's the farming isn't working for our environment. And then we're looking at, people. Like you said, one of my favorite things to do is to work with people I love helping people get their health back. And we have a lot of autoimmune disorders, and we have a lot of, digestive issues, and we have lots of, diabetes, and these numbers are only going up. Helping people understand, looking at what they're eating, helping them understand how that's affecting their body, and helping them get healthy again. The Longevity Institute out of USC, with the work of Walter Longo, says that you can have about 2 portions of meat a week, and then a lot of plants, in
those
there.
portions being rather small.
Rather small.
Like I think I'd mentioned 2 ounces.
About 2 ounces, which sounds very small.
That's 4 ounces of animal protein a week.
Yeah.
It's the rough recommendation.
And they suggest fish, but looking at longevity studies, this is if you, like living well into your older years, that works really well for people, but we're not eating like that. That's not how we're treating protein.
I'm not eating like that.
No. And so we're seeing this in digestive issues. We're seeing this in cardiovascular issues. We're seeing this in type 1 and type 2 diabetes, autoimmune issues. And so when I bring in people who are having these problems, and we work on fiber. We work on taking out the meat until they're 6 months in remission, and then they can make a choice after that. But getting their cholesterol under control, their blood pressure under control, their digestive tract under control. Getting the diabetes. Type 2 diabetes does not have to be a lifelong thing. We're eating a lot of calories compared to, we have a food abundance now, whatever kind of food we're eating.
I guess I always figured that when I see these people walking around town that are like 350 and 380 pounds, I assume they're eating a lot of potato chips and Fritos and Jack in the Box.
I think we get 60% of our calories as a culture, as a standard American diet culture, from highly processed foods or ultra processed foods.
I mean, and that was kind of my point. Like, God, what a great first step. If you're out there and you could just stop eating processed foods, that's a massive step in the right direction, right?
People who go paleo after eating the standard American diet, and they, maybe it's because their child has autism, or there's some health thing that will get, like a family to go paleo. So that means that they're eating, whole foods and meats. usually, right? That's the paleo diet. And so that means that they're getting the goldfish out of the diet and the mac and cheese out of the diet and the hot dogs out of the diet. Hot dogs are a type 1 carcinogen, by the way. They're on the same list as asbestos and cigarettes.
Wow.
You know, you're getting the processed meat out of the
love
diet.
hot dogs. I only
bet
have
you
like
do.
one every 8 months.
It's just crazy, though.
they're
It's
so
on
good.
the same list as a type 1 carcinogen.
What about those really
but we feed them
expensive
to
ones,
children.
though? The really expensive ones, the
Yeah.
uncured,
They're like, yeah, it's like a really expensive cigarette.
like a hand-rolled cigarette.
I mean, I'm sure there are better and worse ones, but
But you're right. Probably the Oscar Mayer ones or
yeah, you get all of
death
that.
rods.
And the easy access, you know, unfortunately, a lot of people need the easy access food because the way that we've set up our food system.
Cheap.
It's cheap. It's
Feed your whole family of 8 at KFC, bucket of chicken and the
well, it's
biscuits
the
and
fast
everything.
part, right? Because you could feed a family of 8 off of rice and beans, but it's not nearly as exciting.
It doesn't taste as good as KFC.
No, it doesn't. It's not crispy. It's not easy and fast for the person with the way we've set up. I mean, we could get, just in the weeds about the economics of how a single mother needs to go through or not even a family needs to go through that because they don't have time.
Working 2 jobs, on the way home,
Or
kids
food
are
desert.
hungry.
Yeah, exactly. But the main idea of it is if you go paleo, like there's levels, right? Even when I'm working with people to get healthier, they're like, geez, because I eat apples for breakfast with black coffee. For lunch, I'll have hummus and celery. For dinner, I'll have a huge salad with lots of different colors, and people are like, ugh. I don't want to eat like that. And I'm like, you don't have to eat like that. That's how I eat. I know, but like every single day. Right. And it took me.
But can I back you up for a second? Because I'm confused about this and I'm an idiot about this. You guys that are vegan, where are you getting how do you get protein? What do you get your protein from?
We have so many different options for protein, right? Because protein, we've made synonymous, like protein means meat for so many people.
It kind of does to me a little.
Yeah.
I know the only thing I know is beans, right?
Right. Beans, legumes, nuts, seeds.
Nuts, seeds. All those have protein. Seeds have protein.
Seeds, yeah.
Okay.
Seeds have protein, lots
Do
of minerals.
vegetables have protein?
Yes. Spinach has a ton of protein.
Really?
It's just low caloric.
I see.
But if you look at, that's why Popeye ate his spinach.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And
then also if you squeeze some lemon on top of that spinach, you get iron assimilated into your diet, a lot of iron. So when I'm working with women who have said, I did the vegan thing, but I'm an athlete and I just couldn't get enough iron. I'm like, well, did you eat greens and did you put vitamin C, the lemon on it? And they're like, no. I'm like, well, that's a huge, that's how you get your iron in your system. It needs to work with that. Like turmeric needs to work with pepper. Like food combining, unfortunately, is used as an excuse to not do things. You don't need a lot of food combining, but there are some things like
tricks.
Yeah, spinach
tips
lemon
and
stuff.
tricks.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't even have to think about where I'm getting my iron, my multis, because I eat just a well-diverse, lots of different colors, getting in some nuts and seeds. I don't even really eat beans that much because I've come to a point where I will eat some cooked food. I'm not a raw foodist, but I just like eating fresh. So that's where I am, and I go and I do my blood. My blood pressure is usually it's 120 over 80, right? Is what we tell people in the US. They're actually changing it to 110 over 70. Because as you get, 90 over 60 or, 100, like 100 over 60, 110 over 70, 120 over 80 is just as you watch chronic disease go up with blood pressure. Your chances of having a cardiovascular risk goes up exponentially each time you make a 10-point jump. And so they're even lowering it. It was 120 over 80. It's being lowered to 110 over 70. Because they're seeing that we're having so many cardiovascular, being heart attacks, strokes. Now we're worried about dementia and Alzheimer's, and does that relate to our cardiovascular health? Cholesterol. We've had it at 200. We're looking at all-cause mortality going up at 200. So we need to look at it going down from there, but how soon till the NIH is going to have this in their documents so that, doctors and, registered dietitians are able to talk about this?
Yeah, you're headed into some other territory. Can I lead this one?
Yeah.
A little bit? Because we talked earlier before the show about this, and I don't know. For some reason, I want to say this. I don't know. It seems to me there's a lot of people today that if you don't have the MD in front of your name, or if you're not a professor at a university, you are immediately just like, who gives a shit what that person's saying? And I kind of get that these people have spent their lives earning these degrees, studying things in a very in-depth professional settings.
Yeah.
And of course, I want to hear what they have to say. And of course, depending on the subject, I'm going to read their books and figure out what their take is on things. But I think the point I wanted to make was, I don't believe it's, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater type of thing. Just because somebody doesn't have a degree doesn't mean they have information to bring to the table, specifically new information, because of these antiquated systems. Okay. You're a doctor, you go to college, they teach you all about health and medicine. Well, first of all, you got to realize the stuff they're teaching you is at best 5 years ago stuff, probably even older. And if there's really some new things coming out, are they really going to get it from, the peer-reviewed papers into the curriculum, into that student's head so he can take it out and put it into actual medicine? No. And we all have to admit, or at least recognize, that information's moving faster than ever. New things are popping up every day. It's lightning speed at this point. So I guess what I'm getting at is, I'm very interested in people with or without degrees who are just passionate about learning about a specific subject. That's one of the reasons I had you on here, because I know you've done thousands of hours of research of the newest whatever is happening in health and medicine. And I think that's of value. My wife, Holly, she owns a med spa and a health center with naturopathic doctors and an MD director. And we talk to doctors a lot about how to do things at her business. And I can't tell you how many times in a room she's mentioned cutting edge new things to do for health, and they don't even know what she's talking about. Like, oh, what about get some NAD drips? What's NAD? And they're just, and it's not that they're stupid. It's not that they don't care. It's just that they are embroiled into their degree. They're busy working, and they don't have, like my wife and like you, who sits awake at night because she has insomnia and literally just reads papers about what's going on in cutting edge, what's going on in longevity, what, metformin and all these things that are going around and moving around. But anyway, I think I'm really highlighting you in this instance because you are one of those persons that fills that gap between traditional education and what's really currently happening on the ground right now.
Yeah. Someone's having a health emergency, thank goodness for modern medicine. If I'm working with somebody who does have type 2 diabetes and we do need to get their insulin under control, thank goodness for prescriptions. But we don't want prescriptions to be subscriptions. And unfortunately, when we're working with doctors who
I like that. Prescriptions becoming subscriptions.
Yeah. When we're working,
a t-shirt.
When we're working with these, with doctors who have dedicated so much time, and they, on average, it takes about 10 plus years to get, new information into the NIH to be delivered to
10 years,
about 10 years and a lot of money. So, it has to be industry backed somehow or financially backed somehow, and so, between those two things, it takes a long time for new information to get to dietitians, nutritionists, doctors, even if the doctors are pursuing nutritional education, because they don't have to. And most medical schools don't dedicate much time to it. But when it comes to me, and even talking about, you spoke about this abundance of information we have at our fingertips. Anything can be true. You can go on the internet and 200, if your cholesterol is at 200, it can say, I've heard naturopathic doctors say all-cause mortality goes down at 200 and up. This is a person who works in Encinitas, and she's very popular. And I'm like, excuse me, because all of the peer-reviewed research I've been exposed to says all-cause mortality goes up after 200. If you have
you'll find what you're looking for. It's kind
you'll
of
find
how
what
the internet works.
Yeah, it's how it works. So the hardest part is when you are, like your wife, dedicating so much time to reading, to going outside of your echo chamber and inside of your echo chamber and going to the anecdotal and then the peer-reviewed. We don't need to eat perfectly, but we need to eat better. So if you want a lot of protein, mix your proteins. Get a little bit if you want from meat. Again, then you get into like dairy and eggs. Dairy and eggs, if you look at the studies, nutritionfacts.org. Go to nutritionfacts.org, type in your favorite sources of protein, and the latest peer-reviewed information will come up. It'll show who's paid for it. So your mom's dad will like that, who's funded it, and what it says about eggs and how much we can have and what the cause and effect is there. It's a really great site to get control of your health.
I love it. I love it. I love this whole conversation. You've got me questioning everything. I really believed I was really doing it right. You know, I not only eat a lot of meat, but I order, you know, the good, and not everyone can do this, but I order venison, and my dad will give me elk, and I'm eating, I'll go to the special butcheries and get wild game whenever I can, and liver. And, you know, I'm not just at Vaughn's getting T-bones every weekend.
Yeah.
But I am eating a lot of meat. Of course, there's the chicken, the seafood. I love oysters. Actually, since we talked a couple weeks ago, it's funny. I just was like, I'm having like a big old salad now prior to my meat.
Yeah.
One, it's just, I know I'm not going to be as hungry.
Yeah.
Because if you just put the meat in front of me, I'm crushing that whole
Yeah,
thing.
of course.
But if I've got to go through a whole salad and then I get to the meat, I mean, I don't need as much, you
Yeah,
know?
that's a really smart way to eat.
Yeah, and putting the vegetables in first, the fiber
Yeah,
in
exactly.
first. We talked about that. And I don't know if we're going to be able to get through all this today. My program isn't a 3-hour program, but it's I think it was a good introduction to at least opening people's eyes to another viewpoint on diet, especially from somebody who cares, and especially from somebody who's not anti-meat. Because if you were just going to sit here and tell me not to kill animals, I don't. It wouldn't work on me.
Yeah.
But and you might even not like the killing of animals, but that isn't what you're really telling people. That could be a personal thing for you. I don't know if it is or isn't. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But you're not coming at me from that perspective.
Yeah, my personal agenda isn't going to work. Isn't going to work well for you as a personal agenda, because it's taken me a lot of time to get here, and it comes from the filter of my own mind. But as far as working with the world and our communities and wanting to make change, you know, our climate. You know, there are a lot of changes happening in climate. For whatever reason you want to think that these climate, you know, things are happening.
Separate subject.
The reason I'm bringing up now is Eat Lancet with Oxford University, peer-reviewed study, 2017, said if we would eat plants, significantly more plants in our diet, and cut back significantly on animal source proteins, we could cause, or we as a Western world, we're not talking about people who need to fish for existence or, you know, who don't have grocery stores, but as a Western culture, if we chose to eat, you know, a large amount of plants in our diets, we could curtail climate change significantly for whatever reason you want to think it's happening, because it's going to be very hard to get everyone in India or China or Mexico or even here to have Teslas and renewable energy and, you know, rechargeable batteries and all these things. We're not flying off to Hawaii for vacation, but if it's meaning that you just need to eat, you know, a high percentage of your diet from, you know, non-animal based foods and a small percentage, we're going to see people get healthier, and it's going to help out our environment significantly. And that was in Eat Lancet, peer-reviewed Oxford study, and they're not even talking about it at the COP, you know, so.
A lot of interests out there that probably would prefer that not be talked about.
Exactly. So I just want to plant that seed here and now, you know.
Well, it's I don't know that to be you. It's new to me, but
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, just on the surface, I could think of 100 reasons why that might be true. Especially considering, you know, I'm not going to sit here and deny that these massive farms where they're raising most of our animals, I mean, they're disgusting for one, and they're horrible for the environment. I don't need to be a scientist to see that. I grew up in Iowa. They had slaughterhouses around me. I saw it's pretty bad for the environment, the things they were doing, the food they were feeding these animals, the waste. It was just, and that on a massive scale can't be good for the environment. Whereas fields and fields of beets and radishes and beans without being, you know, getting down to, I don't see how that really hurts as much.
Yeah, and really fast, a lot of, you know, like Joe Rogan will say, where are we going to get all these plants to feed us if we're eating plants? Reminder, while we're here, is that it takes 8 to 10 calories of plants to make 1 calorie of animal food. So if we have, that means that we could have 800 calories of wheat, let's say, or wheat, soy, and corn. And that means that's only 100 calories of a steak.
Okay.
So we're growing a lot of food, and we're not getting much food out of that. So we would be able to farm less.
Well, right. What you're saying is, as we stop eating as much meat, more of the food we're currently growing can be fed to humans.
Right. We're growing.
So those two, that scale shifts at the same time.
As
the meat goes down, our availability of the vegetables and other things comes up
There's
simultaneously.
a lot more food available.
Right, because if you just base it on what's available currently, it is a difficult. How where are you going to get all of it? But yeah, we'd have more available.
Yeah, right now we have a 800% food waste just by feeding all of this wheat, soy, and corn to beef, dairy, and eggs, or meat, dairy, and eggs.
Which they shouldn't be eating anyway.
Yeah, they're meant to be eating grass.
Well, we have a lot to think about, all of us, including myself. I'm very open-minded. I'm never going to stay stuck and I know what's up because I don't know what's up. And I'm always interested to talk to different viewpoints. And you've certainly brought a bunch of new viewpoints that I'm not getting out of a lot of the material and the avenues I seem to be landing on. So it's refreshing.
Whole foods, variety of color.
I got that.
Yeah,
got
eat,
that.
eat.
I'm going to
if
increase
you-
vegetable. That's my new,
Yeah,
because of you,
I'm not
more
saying no meat.
vegetables.
Just eat more vegetables. And in the morning, if you can, more fruits.
I eat once a day.
Yeah, that can be, OMAD, 1 meal a day.
Cool. I love it. Thank you. And
Yeah.
we're not done. I mean, I was just thinking maybe it's time to kind of switch subjects
Yeah, yeah.
here. This is Chats and Tats, where we chat and we tat. Before I get into maybe the tattoo that we're doing today, I just wanted to kind of talk about you. I mean, you have been collecting tattoos I wasn't your first tattoo.
You were my first big tattoo.
Big tattoo.
Yeah, you
Which
were
was
my
12
first-
years ago.
12
And
years
you
ago.
had a few things, but you didn't have all this stuff.
I had little things. I was off on the sidelines, always looking at
this
people
stuff.
covered in tattoos, being like, oh, someday, but I didn't want to make my mother upset. But finally, I started making myself happy instead of my parents, and started working with you after I had a couple small tattoos on the body and been collecting a lot. Most of my tattoos are guru sourced ever since.
Well, that's awesome. So you've been on this long-term, passionate journey for collecting tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the meaning of all your tattoos are, but I kind of get the feeling that they're not just haphazard. Each
No.
tattoo stands for something important. Maybe you could talk about a few that, you're not going to get through all these tattoos. There's
No.
way too many. Let's hear a few highlights. What are some of the tattoos you've gotten and why?
So most of my tattoos revolve either around family or revolve around, how I would like just speaking up for the world, So, of course, I'm a vegan,
Right there.
This piece right here that I got at Guru is about, the bugs that help our planet, for farms, helping the planet there. I have this is a rather recent one. This is Mother Nature. She's crying oil. She has exhaust coming off of her. So it's just like, this is my coffee loving tattoo, but most of my tattoos though are about plant-based lifestyle.
We're going to get some video and some pictures of all our work and have it superimposed on this conversation because I think there's a lot to look at.
Yeah, but I love stoicism, so I've got some stoicism.
I love stoicism.
Veganism,
Just
and
got into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, what book came off of Joe's show? Book on stoicism.
Ryan Holiday?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just did it audio. I do them all.
Yeah,
audio.
I love
That
audio.
was a good book.
Ryan Holiday, yeah, he's really great. I love stoicism mixed with some other ways of thinking, but just that philosophy is just really solid. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, so we today, this is kind of exciting. I haven't tattooed the side of someone's head in a long time. For whatever reason, I'm a 30-year tattoo artist, and I don't know. My clientele have always been kind of professionals, and they weren't the young crazies that wanted to get the crazy tattoos. I've never done a palm tattoo. I've done a few face tattoos, a few hand tattoos. My clients always wanted big work, bodysuits and stuff, but it was always like kept keeping it underneath the suit and tie,
Yeah.
That's just became my clientele, and that's the type. So today's exciting for me because we're actually going to tattoo the side of Kaska's head, from back on her neck here, kind of over. I'll show you this in a minute, over the top. And the theme of the piece is Silver Fox.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, I love how we came to doing the side of the head because you're like, well, what do you want to tattoo? I'm like, where do you want to tattoo? And you mentioned side of the head, and I've had this idea
I
for a
mentioned
while.
it?
You said, I'd love to do the side of the head.
I
I'd love to
did?
do a headpiece. Yeah. And I said,
I don't remember saying that.
well, you were shooting off ideas of
Okay.
like where you're like, well, keep in mind it's going to be small because, this is, how the podcast
You can't do like a
works.
back
And-
piece on the show.
yeah, and I'm like, well, I have a headpiece that I want because in February I'm going to be 40, and I wanted to mark that because I got my first gray hair. I'm Eastern, European, or East Northern European, so I got my first gray hair rather young, and I have a lot of gray hairs, and just really, I love getting older. I love every single day. I feel very fortunate about my life, and I love embracing this change that I have. That's hard to see because, well, this side's shaved for the tattoo, but this change in my hair where I'm going silver, and I love the everything that I've learned that has come with this sign of who I am, and hopefully someday I'll feel like it's wisdom. For now, I feel like it's an accumulation of knowledge. And so I told you I wanted a silver fox, and you drew up something beautiful. And I want to just commemorate me going into 40 and just embracing this. Yeah. I mean, maybe sometimes it's going to be blonde or purple, but sometimes it's, a lot of time it's going to be silver and getting more and more silver. And I want to stand out there for women too. Like silver's fucking rad, man. And embracing age, embracing
that's cool.
The health that will take you there.
That's cool. That's very cool in an era where there's most people, I guess, I would say, most women especially, are just doing their damnedest to not show aging.
Yeah.
Hiding it at all costs. And hey, I'm not judging. I've had Botox. My wife owns a med spa.
You've had Botox?
Oh my God. They use me as a freaking guinea pig over there, dude.
Have you had your lips injected?
No. I don't think I need it but also I'm just terrified of that. But yeah, they've done vampire facials on me, and I've done some other crazy stuff. I've done stem cell drips, and of course I do NAD, and those are more longevity based stuff. But yeah, they do. My wife's always messing with my face.
Yeah.
And again, it's not something that's really been on my mind. It's just she owns this place, and I go down and do it. But I'm down there watching these women, and it's great. I'm not judging, but you're right. It seems rare to see, especially a woman being like, "Yeah, man, I'm 40. I have gray hair. I'm a silver fox."
Yeah.
Instead of, "Oh my God." Down to the hairdresser, get rid of it. God damn it, I cannot age. And then, it's like a fear kind of thing that they're going through. Like, I can't stand thinking about the fact that I'm getting older and that means I'm going to die. Panic that runs through people. And the reality is, getting comfortable with that is probably going to make your life now a lot happier. Worrying about getting old and dying, I mean, that's like worrying about the sun coming up. Enough on that. But
yeah.
I'm excited about this. This is fun.
Yeah.
So like I was starting with, I get to do a head tattoo,
Yes.
a silver fox on you today.
Yeah.
Here we are, back again in the chair after 12 years.
Yeah.
A reunion tour, if you will.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. So that's it for now. We're gonna pick it up on the other side of the room, and we're gonna see how this head tattoo goes down.
Yeah.
Let's do it. We're gonna tattoo the side of Kaska's head. She's got it all ready for us. Boom. It's gonna wrap up. This is sort of where we're headed. Black and gray tattoo, no color. There'll be a little more shading in it than this picture reveals, but that's the general direction and plan. So wish us luck. Here we go. Okay. And it just curves around your ear. Mm-hmm. That's good. I like this. So let's do this. Let's do it. Enough talk.
Oh, that is so easy.
One to 10 on your pain scale.
Oh, that's not fair. I have a high pain tolerance. Just a second, let me feel it. 2.5?
Oh my God. I have a fear.
Feeling fantastic.
Yeah.
Stoked. Yeah, sick.
Welcome back, everybody. How was that?
Well, it was amazing sitting with you again. And, my favorite part was getting to just chit chat and banter with you while we went through it. Because, there's some people where you just, you lay down on the table and tattoos happen. And there's some where you have really great conversation. I like that about you, is the conversation was rad. Tattoo started at about a 2. Ended at about an 8.
Yeah, I put the first line on Kaska, and she just basically laughed. She was like, "Oh my God, quit
So
tickling
easy.
me! Quit tickling me!" Yeah, towards the end, you were not.
I was sweating. I felt like I was going to throw up because he's like, "Don't worry, we're getting to the shading now." Because I was just like, I'm like, it's cool. Tattoos are pain. I'm like, but how much longer do you have? Because
Did you hear it kind of rattling your?
not really. It's just, usually if a tattoo's bothering me, I bring myself into my, I just kind of shut off my, just from the shoulders down. And I put myself and I just focus on breathing. But from the shoulders up is where everything was happening. And like you said, in the process of just you feel like when vital organs, the brain especially, or even when I've been tattooed over my liver, it's just louder. And even when you stopped with the heavy, gun and you went to shading, usually things get better. But with it didn't get better at all. It just got my brain just panic mode, and the body wasn't even in the brain. I'm calm, but my body's sweating, nauseous. I'm like, dang, this is intense. I'm glad, I'll do it again, but it was just really crazy, just seeing how the body reacted to that placement. But it's done,
Yeah.
and I fucking love it.
Oh,
yeah.
good. And I love it too. And I agree. Hanging out with you, it's been a lot of years, but I do remember our time together, and we just clicked. We get along, and
Yeah.
it's always fun seeing you. And today was great talking to you. I really want to emphasize how cool it was. Is this an example of letting someone in to talk about a thing that maybe I don't necessarily think I would even agree with half the stuff you would say today. I've already heard all this data. I've already read about how good animal protein is for me. I've done my research. I'm smart. Yet staying open-minded, and really you've hit me with some stuff today where I'm going to have to really go back to the drawing board a little bit, because you told me a lot of things today I was totally unaware of. So I guess my point is the world could use a bit more of that, because everyone's stuck in their lane and in their echo chamber, and everyone's wrong. If you're not going to my website, and I can show you why I'm right, because I can show you 10 websites of why my data is right and your data is wrong. And I just think that it's cool that we're on the opposite sides maybe of nutrition. Not opposite, but I was coming from a totally different angle. And after hanging out with you for the day, I'm going to be rethinking a lot of those things. So thank you for that.
And if you find out stuff where information can be, valuable for me, then, let me know, because I think that's just what the world needs right now, is we're all here together in this, and we're seeing so many people on, going to radical opposite sides of everything. And, I grew up in small town, Oregon, with, just a culture there that's fishing and logging, and I love going there, and they're usually mystified by me, but by the end, we've got a group of good old boys. I hang out at the coffee shop every day, and the reason I'm saying this is just we have so much to learn all the time. I love hanging out with you, and if we can all sit down and just hang out with each other, with differences or without, it's just rad that we can do that, and listen and chit chat.
I would love that. I want to get you and my wife in a room together,
Yes.
because she has so much information on this stuff as well. I don't think as nutrition based as you, but I know you guys would hit it off and have a lot of things to share. So let's do it. Let's
Awesome.
make a date.
Super
And I want to
duper.
end this episode. On a lot of my episodes, we end with a glass of whiskey or something, but for this one, we're going to end with an apple martini in a toast to plant-based diet, plant-based nutrition.
Healthy humans.
Healthy humans.
Yeah.
Cheers to that.
Cheers. Cheers, Aaron.